Story 1. Suicidal thoughts that are genetic. Every one of my siblings has constant and persistent thoughts of killing themselves. We are all miserable. Story 2. Endometriosis feels like stabbing, wax strips, and cramps all at once. I am expected to keep going to work and life because the world does not stop, and there is stigma talking about periods on top of it. It literally disrupts your life, so please do not let doctors tell you that pain to the degree of screaming on the floor and being bedridden, unable to walk, is just normal for periods. Story 3. Dislike and hatred towards people who have hurt me in the last few years. Depression, unemployment, anxiety. Story 4. Like I am just so tired, but my brain will not shut off. I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, but my thoughts are racing like a motor that will not stop. You might think it is just stress. Story 5. I am feeling very depressed and struggling to move forward. My wife knows I have been feeling down, but she does not know that I have not eaten yet today. I feel like I do not deserve to eat. On paper, my life appears fine, but I am very miserable. Story 6. Chronic continuous pain all over my body. I am tired of trying to ignore it and just push through to get things done. Story 7. Lack of reciprocity from the people in my life. The ones that say, "Hey, I'm here. Let me know if you need anything," or "You mean so much to me." But when the time comes to put words into action, people fail to come through time and time again, especially on the days you need them most. Feels like a cruel joke. Just a little bit of the love and care I give to others. I would like to get back just a tiny sliver, just a little glimmer. The only reciprocity I find is in my garden and the animals I feed. You give care, nurturance, and time to them, and they grow, produce flowers and fruit, and thrive. The animals show affection back. But humans, especially those closest to you, disappoint me every time. It seems like a cruel joke at this point. But alas, you are the mother and the woman. We are not supposed to complain or be hurt. We are supposed to show up with a smile and no self-respect to keep everyone happy and comfortable. Yet all this time, I have been the one who is unhappy and uncomfortable. This madness ends here. Story 8. Fatigue. I am exhausted all the time and need to nap at least once, preferably twice, a day. It is a side effect of cirrhosis, which is easier to manage than the constant sleepiness. Story 9. A rare cancer most likely linked to burn pits and hazardous materials exposure, with causes not fully understood. Story 10. Brain activity when trying to sleep. To be fair, I just started a new job as a developer, and you always have something to think about. Story 11. Transgender issues, depression, homophobia, and transphobia around me. Weight issues, anxiety, low self-esteem, suicidal thoughts, some mental health and self-harm challenges. A difficult experience. Story 12. Suicidal thoughts come and go. Sometimes it is really hard to deal with them. Other times it is easier. But now I have a safety net, at least. I have people I can talk to now, unlike a few years ago. Story 13. I have been fighting to stay afloat since I was 17. I am almost 30 now, still living alone, still pushing forward. Even when there is no map, no finish line, just another day to survive. Story 14. Not so quiet technically, but chronic illness and chronic pain are brutal. I don't get a break. I cannot take a vacation from it. I suffer almost 24/7. It is very draining. Story 15. Currently in hospital with pneumonia and signs of heart failure. I am embarrassed because I am overweight and have gained a lot of weight in the past few months due to a great deal of stress. The stress is overwhelming, and I do not even know where to begin explaining. The only people who know I am here are my employer, so I do not lose my job, and my mother. I do not want anyone's pity or comments like, "You need to start taking better care of yourself," or "You need to do this or that." I already know what I need to do. Let us not even discuss my mental health. But I am in therapy and trying to make progress. Story 16. According to the psychiatrist I have had appointments with, I have Asperger's syndrome. That was quite a surprise. So now I am trying to get used to the idea and working on getting help for my everyday life. Looking back on my childhood and my life so far, there are now many things I understand better. It is a relief to learn that I am not crazy, weird, or a nerd, as my mom called me. There is a reason, and I can get help in dealing with everyday life. Story 17, post-traumatic stress disorder. And the worst part of it is being nearly unable to explain why I do some of the things I do to other people. I don't want to say, it triggers really negative feelings related to a traumatic experience, and I'm trying to avoid that. So it ends up something like, I don't know, I just feel weird, and then no one takes it seriously. It's so hard to be even mildly comfortable without making other people feel bad or weird. Story 18, toxic parents. I am over the theory and cut my parents off a long time ago, but still deal with the fallout regularly. Story 19, post-traumatic stress disorder. But at least my husband and my therapist know that. Probably undiagnosed borderline personality disorder too. But I isolate when I start feeling abandoned in hopes that I can just reason through it alone without burdening anyone. Connection is never enough, and one of the only guarantees in life is change. People change and they come and go. Nothing is ever guaranteed. Knowing this comforts me and tears me apart at the same time, but that is for me to work through on my own. Story 20. I do not have difficulty falling asleep, but I wake up suddenly at 3 or 4 o'clock and cannot go back to sleep. I also experience episodes of sadness because I cannot find work and cannot become independent. Story 21. Multiple chronic illnesses. I am sick all day, every day, for the rest of my life, and the apathy that has come with that. Story 22. Imposter syndrome, possible depression, lack of self-worth or self-esteem, almost certainly autism, general lack of love. Story 23. The trauma from last year was difficult. I went through an awful breakup with my abusive ex, dealt with his stalking, and was then violently assaulted while my friend watched. I am still grappling with the fact that I took a personal leap and reached out to people, including friends, family, and the police, but nobody provided any real support. Story 24. Black. The color, the energy, the feeling. I can see the purest colors of my soul, but they are tainted by black. Always this strange darkness comes creeping on, so haunting every time. Black as a hole, a black hole, with no light to be found. If there is no one beside you, when your soul embarks, I will follow you into the dark. Story 25. Malnutrition is a horrible condition. I can feel myself getting weaker over the years, but I cannot eat more because it just makes me feel sick. Story 26. I am not suffering. I have an addiction and financial problems, but I am perfectly happy. Thank you for asking. Story 27. I am suffering a lot. It is all quiet, and I have no one to talk to. I also do not want to burden anyone. No one needs my problems in their life. Depression is sometimes best kept quiet. At the end of the day, suffering in silence tends to be less stressful for others. No one needs to worry about whether I will be here tomorrow or how hungry I am. I would rather someone smile than have random stress in their lives. Life is hard as it is, and adding to it is not right. Story 28. Social anxiety. Not even afraid, just worried that something may happen if I go out to have fun on weekends or whatever. Story 29. Chronic illnesses such as hypermobility and undiagnosed illnesses. Mental illnesses including depression, anxiety disorder, social anxiety, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, and insomnia. Story 30. Dealing with the fact that I am an individual, I have always felt lonely because I do not belong to any group of people. Story 31. Being alive is torture, and I am trapped. There is nothing I or anyone else can do. I just have to wait to die. Story 32. Quietly suffering from a mix of overthinking, back pain, and the feeling that I am not doing enough with my life, but still pretending everything is fine while sending people memes at 2 a.m. Story 33. Binge eating. I quit smoking 5 years ago and stopped using hard drugs 9 years ago, but overcoming this addiction is incredibly difficult. I am too ashamed to reach out. I have had some success, but it has been really hard to stop completely. Story 34. Hair loss and extreme dandruff. I am talking about my head. It is itchy 24/7 and it burns. Imagine the itchiness of a mosquito bite, but all over your head and ears. Story 35. An immune condition that I do not know how to fix. From what I know, my immune system is overactive and causes me to break out in hives every time I get too hot. Story 36. Wanting to die or run away. I am an adult. I should not still have urges to run from situations. But alas. Story 37. Constant anxiety about small things that are not even real influences my mood. I can cry in 10 minutes and then be happy again. Story 38. Narcolepsy developed after brain tumor surgery 4 years ago. It feels like I have slept for 3 hours even after waking up from 16 hours of sleep. I cannot have a functional life without medication to control the drowsiness. Story 39. I lost my older brother many years ago due to a tragic situation. Now that I am older than him, I am his older sister if you think about it. I miss him. Story 40. Polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis are both relatively minor compared to other conditions, but it is still difficult to have both. Story 41. Silicophobia. It is still mild to moderate, but I have had to get out of my pool for a breather. I have a salt float coming up, and I am already scared. It is not enough to disrupt daily life, but it is currently my biggest challenge. Story 42. I love working, but my job often gives me extra work. Everyone in the office says that I should receive more than I currently do in terms of level and salary, but management is satisfied with not giving me more. I left for a dream job, but I was not trained properly and did not perform as expected. Now I am returning to my old job at the same salary and level. The only way to possibly receive a higher pay is to go through a grievance process, but I am tired of not being recognized for the work I do. I told my partner that I am meant to do this work without the corresponding level and pay. I simply do not have the energy to fight anymore. Story 43. Nothing. I never shut up, and I chronically tell my truth. How are you? Terrible and questioning the point of life. Thanks for asking. I was insufferable when I went through my last bad breakup. But I don't know, life has beaten me down a lot lately, and I'm kind of okay with it. I am trying to hold on to what used to be gullible hope for life to improve. Story 44. Sudden severe depressive episodes where medications are not effective, and therapy is very expensive. Story 45. Migraines. I have suffered from them for more than 10 years. Those who have never had a migraine have no idea how painful they are. Migraines are debilitating and greatly affect the quality of life. Medications can help, but only to a certain extent. They can reduce the frequency of migraine attacks but do not eliminate them. Playing the drums does not help either. I have not been able to play my drums for quite some time because of my migraines, which is very frustrating. Story 46. Success. It is lonely at the top. Generational wealth creates a divide that not many people understand. The secrets, the lying, pretending to be normal so people do not resent it. No one can keep up with the lifestyle. It is lonely and isolating, and people get mad because of it. Story 47. Boredom. Books are great, but sometimes I just want to move around and explore something new in the world. Unfortunately, I am not rich enough to do much of that. Story 48. The fear of rejection, although not as bad as before. I was bullied in high school, and until I was 14, I had never learned to stand up for myself. I went to my school's social worker for help. I am a people pleaser and used to constantly stress about how others would see me. Story 49. Being afraid of getting older and my mortality. I wonder what the point of anything is. I feel like I have wasted my whole life. Story 50. I have no idea what I am doing. I changed careers for myself and moved states for my partner, leaving everyone who really loved me behind. I am chasing, I don't know what. I love the change of scenery, but the field I am in now, while more mature, I absolutely hate. Is this what life is? Doing things you really don't care about forever? Story 51. I struggle with constant phlegm all day, every day, and it has become both embarrassing and humiliating. At this point, I feel like it makes me undesirable. Who would want to be with someone who has to clear their throat or remove phlegm every few seconds? It is exhausting, and no doctor has been able to help except to tell me I have environmental allergies. Allergies from what, though? It is a disaster, to be honest. Story 52. I have had enough of the country I immigrated to 14 years ago. It is too homogeneous, conservative, cold, and exclusionary, but I cannot leave because we have 3 children in school here and my job is very good. Story 53. Loneliness in my home. I crave humans I can share domestic responsibilities and small pleasures with. The wrong housemates can be a nightmare, and I would rather be alone like now than have those. However, certain aspects of life were much more pleasant when I had the right housemates. Coming home from work each day to a house that was never dark and never empty. Saturday morning, unrushed conversations over breakfast. The availability of both solitude in my room when I wanted it and company in the public spaces of the house. Story 54. I lost a friend last week. It was the way she died that keeps bothering me, and she was so young. It hurts. Story 55. Exhaustion and burnout after doing all the right things and having nothing to show for it. Leaving in a blaze of glory seems like the best option at this point. Story 56. I do not know if I would call it suffering, but having herpes simplex virus type 2 genital herpes is not the easiest thing in the world to reckon with. For anyone else out there who sometimes has bad days, it does not define us and life goes on. Story 57. Serious comparison issues, to the point it is not even quiet anymore. I am 26 in a few months, work a job, own a good side hustle, have never been able to afford to move out, went to college locally, and have no girlfriend. I know multiple people from school who have had a fun time in college, traveled, moved to big cities in different states, and are dating or even married with kids. It is actually driving me insane. 10 years ago, I was almost religiously convinced in myself that I would be successful enough to move into a 5th-story apartment across the country by 19 or 20, traveled a few times, and by now be winding down with my hookup stage and leaning towards dating to marry. Absolutely none of it came to fruition while I witnessed it happen with several of my old friends and sibling who did not even have it as a goal. It just happened for them. Story 58. I'm 15 now. From an early age, I had the experience of watching certain unusual things. In fact, I already had fetishes then. Later, I began to explore pornography, and over time my preferences changed for the worse. If there was nothing unusual, there was something directly harsh like illegal content or some biological secretions, such as urine or feces. It is still quite unusual. In our large group, I am essentially the only one with such interests. Some people there know about my fetish, but only superficially. The problem is that I tried to quit it and it worked for a while, but you can't convince the brain. I returned to it soon after trying to quit. Now I think that, in fact, you cannot change anything and should leave it as it is since this is a harmless fetish, and I will just keep it hidden. My advice to those who are planning to have children is to ensure that their child does not develop overtly unhealthy preferences in adult materials. Have a good day. Story 59. Perimenopause. I feel literally nothing but pretend I am normal. I think it is better than the rage that some women feel, but I am just blah. Story 60. My wife told me a few weeks ago that she needs space while not being apart. She doesn't want me touching her sexually, but she can touch me sexually. Our goodnight kisses are now me kissing her on the cheek, and I have been sleeping on the couch for the past 3 weeks. She says that I didn't do anything wrong, but that she is trying to work her own issues out in her head. I have been trying to figure out if she wants a divorce or not without her actually saying it, because that is the last thing I want. At the same time, I know that if she does, there is little I can do about it. Story 61. Heart failure, social isolation, bullying, alcohol and methamphetamine addiction, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and an inability to connect or trust anyone. Anyone. Also, waiting for my cancer diagnosis. Fun. Story 62. Not feeling good enough. Not a good enough wife, mom, daughter, sister, friend, and so on. No one needs me on this earth, but people want me here. Story 63. Living in a world overrun by chronically unintelligent people. You do not have to be evil to cause great harm, and they are doing it with all their might. Story 64. Calcium deficiency. I think. I haven't had the issue checked yet. I probably won't eat either. I just need to take in more calcium. Story 65. Got a job interview today but chickened out. I am sure I would get it. It is just a long drive. I want to find something closer. Story 66. Eating disorder. In college, I was diagnosed with anorexia but kept this diagnosis private and still hesitate to tell people. Recently, I have fallen back into these negative habits and behaviors and feel very alone because I do not think anyone will take me seriously since I am currently a healthy weight. It has been on my mind constantly. Story 67. I have health issues and am scared I will die an early death. Although nothing I have is deadly, it is still scary. Story 68. I am struggling with life. I do not know what I am doing. I have lost many opportunities and I no longer see any purpose in anything. Story 69. Wanting better things for myself but lacking the energy, motivation, or knowledge of where to start. Mental roadblock and task paralysis. Story 70. Multiple addictions, depression, suicidal ideation, insomnia, cognitive distortions, and possibly more. I stopped talking about my struggles when I realized it was pushing people away rather than building the honest support system I needed. People like perfect people, not troubled. Story 71. Parental estrangement. I cannot go back to them, and I need to remember that I love an idea of them, but not who they actually are. Story 72. I can't stand myself. I'm just here. On paper, I have a great life. A modest home I own, a great husband, a pretty good job I went to school for, and I'm physically healthy for my age and size. But mentally, I'm really struggling. I've lost a lot of people in my life, both to the afterlife and to the challenges of adulthood. My mom, sister, and stepdad died in a house fire on Christmas Day when I was 11, and my dad passed from an aggressive form of throat cancer just before I turned 30, 3 years ago. I used to have so many friends and be so busy that I was genuinely stressed trying to manage my social calendar. Sometime between the pandemic and now, I've lost 4 very close friends and drifted away from acquaintances in general. I don't think I said or did anything wrong, but if I did, I would have expected some sort of explanation. It's really been a punch to the gut because I know I'm not perfect, but am I really that bad of a friend that people have to uninvite me to their wedding? This made me think the worst about myself. In the meantime, I'm just frustrated with life. I used to love going places and doing things, but now nothing makes me feel awake, alive, or excited. I used to have lots of hobbies and things I enjoyed, but I don't feel motivated to do any of them anymore. I just want to have a game night with some friends, talk casually, and feel like I'm part of a community and that this world is worth being in. Story 73. The comments about my physique hurt me more than what my family says. If I say something, they say it is a joke or that it is for my own good. Story 74. My breakup that happened 8 months ago. I see him every day in class. I feel like I am over it, but he still has that effect on me. Story 75. Lack of affection, intimacy, love, support, friends, and family. I am not quietly suffering. I have brought it up for years. The problem is that nobody cares, so I either get ignored or told to man up or stop being dramatic. I turned 40 in less than a week and have not had any form of affection or intimacy since 2015. I do not want to die knowing I was never good enough for anyone. I do not want to keep living a life devoid of love, but I have no choice and it really hurts when I think about it. I understand life is not fair. Story 76. Lack of affection, intimacy, love, support, friends, and family. I am not quietly suffering. I have brought it up for years. The problem is that nobody cares, so I either get ignored or told to be strong or told to stop being dramatic. I turned 40 in less than a week and have not had any form of affection or intimacy since 2015. I do not want to die knowing I was never good enough for anyone. I do not want to keep living a life devoid of love, but I do not have a choice, and it really hurts when I think about it. I understand life is not fair. Story 77. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. If anyone watched Alien, Earth when they showed the quick action teasers, yes, that is what my flashbacks are like. I just want to read and drink herbal tea. Story 78. I broke up with and blocked my long-distance boyfriend a few days ago. I know that I did the right thing and cannot and should not take it back. He is a good person, and I miss him very much. The thought of him never calling me his princess again is killing me. Story 79. No companionship. Everyone I know has a partner. I can't even get a date. I just want someone to go places with. Story 80. Endometriosis, Graves' disease, cracked tailbone, degenerative arthritis, and other related conditions. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.